Making a standard solution. Place a weighing bolt in a digital balance and weigh out the mass of solid. Tip it into a beaker and reweigh the bolt. Make still contain traces of solid. And subtract the mass of the bolt from the mass of the bolt and solid together to find the precise mass of solid used. Add distilled water until all of whatever you have. In the textbook example of sodium hydroxide, so add distilled water to the beaker until all the sodium hydroxide and stir until all the sodium hydroxide has dissolved. Tip the solution in a volumetric flask. Use a funnel to ensure it all goes in. Rinse the beaker and stirring rod with distilled water and add to the flask. Rinse the beaker and stirring rod with distilled water and add to the flask. This makes sure there's no solute clinging to the beaker/rod. Top the flask up to the correct volume with more distilled water. Make sure the bottom of meniscus reaches the line, and when you get close to the line, add water drop by drop. Because if you don't do this and you go over the line, you'll overshoot your results and you'll have to start the whole process again. And then stop at the flask and turn it upside down. Why do we do that? To ensure it's mixed. And the reason, now I'm going to go through it again, but how you could be asked about it in the exam. So place a weighing bolt on the digital balance and weigh out the mass of solid. Pretty simple. Tip it into the beaker and place a weighing bolt on the digital balance and weigh out mass of solid. Tip it into the beaker, reweigh the bolt, which still contains trace of solid, and subtract the mass of bolt from mass of bolt and solid together to find out precise mass of solid used. Right, that's just learning it. Add distilled water to the beaker and stir until it's all dissolved. Add distilled water to the beaker and stir until it's all dissolved. Tip the solution in a volumetric flask and use a funnel to ensure it all goes in. So example could be a 1 marker. Suggest why the student, it might give you the full method. It says suggest why the student in step 2, so after place weighing bolt, digital balance, weigh out mass solid, add distilled water to the beaker and stir until it's all dissolved. Suggest why the student in step 3 used a funnel. Tips the solution in volumetric flask and then use a funnel to ensure it all goes in. Rinse the beaker and stirring rod with distilled water and add to a flask. Again, suggest why the student in step 4 rinsed the beaker and stirring rod with distilled water and added it to a flask to ensure there is no solute clinging to the beaker/rod. Top the flask up to the correct volume with more distilled water. Suggest why the student added more distilled water to top the flask up to the correct volume. Make sure the bottom of meniscus reaches line. Suggest why in step 5 the student added a water drop by drop, because the student got close to the line and therefore added water drop by drop, because if you go over the line you have to start again. Stop at the flask and turn upside down to ensure it's mixed. Suggest why the student turned it upside down to ensure it's mixed. And hopefully you can get hopefully that makes more sense. They can ask you to literally copy and paste this, making a standard solution. In that case, it's copy and pasting it. Or they'll ask you, suggest why. These 1 markers that are really annoying, right? And you just need to learn these key things. Why use a funnel to ensure it all goes in. Why you rinse the beaker and stirring rod with distilled water and add to the flask to ensure no solute clinging to beaker and rod. And hopefully you get that point.